welcome back to Smashing Heads Podcast. This is our recap for the Challenge USA episode 5. My name is Zach, and I'm joined only by my wife, Hannah.
That would be me.
Yeah. Speaking of that, though, we teased a couple weeks ago before, or maybe, I don't remember if it was before we started recording the USA. I believe it was. It was at the very end of All Stars 3. Jake and his fiance were going to come on and do a Patreon pod with us, and then it was going to go live everywhere else as well later on. We've just had some scheduling things. They've had a lot of things come up with them. I mean, they're fine. They're together. Like, nothing happened with that.
Yeah, there's just everything.
Just a lot of stuff has happened.
Yeah.
I mean, they're planning for a wedding in like the next month as well, and
there's a lot of transition. I think she's getting a new job.
Yeah, so there's just been a lot of stuff happening. But she had to move out of her old apartment.
Yeah, that happened last week.
And so it's on the books, and by books I mean we talked to them in person yesterday. We're recording tomorrow night. And so it's happening. It's currently Thursday, so we're recording Friday, August the 5th, if you want to be specific about it. It'll go up on Patreon first, because we always try to shout out to our patrons as well. Not as well, but first, just because they asked some questions and things like that. So it'll go up on Patreon first, and then probably a couple days later it'll go up on the main feed. I haven't fully decided on all that yet, but it is coming. We haven't forgot about it. It's just there's been a lot. Like, not only do they have all that stuff going on? And I mean, Hannah and I are in the process of moving, finding new jobs, and like there's just a million. You know, it's very bad timing on the challenges front to
shame on them
to start a new season
when we're going through so much
and to start a new season on the same day that the previous season ended. All Stars 3 ended the same day.
Yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'm not as upset about that as the fact that they scheduled this CBS challenge in the midst of all the things going on personally in our lives.
Yeah.
I take
Which we didn't know about 3 months ago.
But I take it as a personal attack from the challenge production. Mm-hmm. I now have beef. And so, challenge CBS, the ball is in your court now. So, way to go.
So, I did do a poll on Twitter. I think I alluded to it last week. Just asking our Twitter audience what they think of this new show. And the 4 options, I believe, were better than So, I said, how do you feel it compares to the main MTV show like Spies, Lies, and Allies, Double Agents, not All Stars? So don't put All Stars is
its own thing.
Yeah. And I was like, how do you feel like it compares to that? And so the options were better than the main show, worse than the main show, about the same, or they're not comparable.
Okay.
Do you know what the results are of that?
I haven't even seen it.
What would you vote for on that poll? Better than the main show, worse than the main show, about the same, or you can't compare them?
Slightly worse, but not much.
Overwhelmingly, 45% of the vote said better than the main show.
Really?
45% said better than the main show. 14% said worse than the main show. 27% said about the same, and 14% said not comparable. I personally feel like it's about the same.
It's probably because we don't know.
I feel like if you have a long history with some of these people, you're a challenge fan, this is your first glimpse of them onto the show that you've liked for a long time, that you know them from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so that probably adds excitement to it.
I thought about this earlier when we were watching the episode, like towards the beginning of it. TJ mentioned, whoever wins this challenge CBS gets to go on to compete on the worldwide challenge.
Yeah, and that was all ADR. That was not.
I get it.
Live.
I know.
Yeah.
But that got me thinking, like, the way a lot of the audience now for the CBS challenge feels, because they're super big Survivor fans and they love Tyson and Ben and Sarah, or maybe it's like really big Love Island fans, and seeing them on another show, they're going to be really excited to see them, in a different environment, in a different setting. I wonder if at the end of this season, when we obviously the people that make it to the final, we're going to have watched them the whole season. We'll have some kind of attachment to them. We'll know them better. I wonder if that's how we're going to feel on the challenge worldwide when we see them like, oh, hey, we watched them on this other season. Now we get to see them again with a whole new group of people.
Do you think that Pitbull is going to be the host of it because he's Mr. Worldwide?
Oh my gosh, if they don't do that.
Well, that's not the name of the show.
Oh, but they better do it.
Yeah,
I'll start a riot if they do not get Pitbull to host.
I feel like as an
co-host with TJ,
objective viewer who doesn't have the past with all these people, I think it's on par with the current seasons. I think it may even be slightly less good than the current seasons, and that's only because like the interpersonal like drama, if it's just very boring. Like there's just not a lot happening behind like the dailies are fine, the eliminations are fine. It's just that like the in-between time, it's just a lot of like laying on benches and like talking to each other, and it's just like
nobody's getting drunk and fighting, and I don't know.
It just doesn't feel fun.
I
don't want Josh level like outrages and stuff.
I kind of do.
When you have somebody like Devin in there and they're going back and forth, it does make it more fun to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. When we recapped the last episode, I think I spoke a little more positively about the challenge CBS. I'm getting to know these people. The dailies have horrible names, but they are fun, and they do have a certain level of difficulty to them that I like. I don't want it to be too easy.
Yeah.
But throughout almost the entire of this episode, I was bored.
I feel like this episode was mostly boring.
It wasn't, and maybe it's just because we were coming pretty fresh off of All Stars still, and how fun and like captivating it is. Like it sucks you in.
Yeah.
I caught myself on 3 or 4 separate occasions during watching this episode. I was having to actively be like, oh, wait, no, I can't check out. I can't go look at Facebook or Instagram. Like, I have to focus on watching this.
Even like...
it shouldn't be like that. I shouldn't be thinking about checking social media or my text messages. I should be, like, when this is on, not on an ad break, I should be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what happens.
So we have friends who don't watch the challenge, but they're big Survivor fans. We talked to them last night. And he was asking me, he's like, oh, do you like Big Brother? And I was like, no, I actively do not like Big Brother. And I was like, the people on there mostly seem annoying. And he's like, yeah, I get that. And although people like Xavier, I think would be good on the main show. But I just feel like if you were to take someone who's never watched the challenge, but also never has watched Survivor, Big Brother, Love Island, any of the feeder shows for this season.
Like maybe they only watch stuff on E! Network, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
What I'm saying
Real
is,
Housewives.
If you just put them, and they don't have any background with any of these people, and you watch this, and then they don't have any background with the MTV type people, and they watch that, I don't see how this is like leaps and bounds better. I don't even feel like it's marginally better. I feel like they are very much the same, if not, this is a little more boring.
Yeah, because it at least, you say compared to like Spies, Lies, and Allies,
I think
Double Agents.
I
reference back to that as much as I can remember right now. I do remember there was some heated discussions between people in the house, wasn't it?
Fessy got kicked off.
Yeah. There was one instance where they were in the kitchen and Kyle, of all people, almost got in a fight with someone. I don't know what season that was. It wasn't the most recent one.
I don't know, but I mean, Kyle almost getting in a fight's not crazy.
No, but like just stuff like that. Like just nothing's going on.
There's no pride. Like that is one thing that the challenge, the main show is good about, is like you get people like Fessy who is like, oh, I'm better than CT. And then CT's like, okay, well, I'm not going to back, even if we're both dressed up like 80s whatever.
CT was in or Fessy was in a tutu, wasn't it?
Yeah, and CT was in like a double-breasted jacket and like a headband and sunglasses. And like they're still going to like kind of go at it. And like that's what this show's missing, because there's just, I don't know.
Here's the thing. You're getting so many people from so many different shows that maybe they know of each other, but they don't really know each other. There's a lot of things that we're missing that we don't normally get. We're not getting any parties.
We got 1 or 2 nights out early on, and then they haven't done it in a few episodes.
I noticed we didn't get a night out last week.
Yeah.
But even so, like there's no like house parties like where everybody dresses up and acts a fool. No,
but that was more,
no in-house drinking that I'm seeing.
Yeah, and that's a big factor for why the other show gets fun sometimes, like one way or the other.
And like there's just nobody is. It's like they clocked in for work and never clocked out. This feels like
It's very clinical.
The people here feel like they're at work.
Yeah.
And yes, this is a job because you're potentially getting paid so much money, and then the opportunity to go onto another season of this. But you're supposed to be able to have fun and like hang out with people, but every time they show shots of people at the house, they're just sitting and strategizing,
like lounging.
Everybody's strategizing and talking like, okay, well, I don't want to be partnered with this person, so we need to try and get them out. Like, talk about your favorite fruits and...
yeah, because that's riveting.
But I'm like, just give us something that's not just politicking. And not even fun politicking.
No, it's not. It's just
the boring politicking.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I definitely think, going back to my example, if you have someone that has not watched any of these, if you show them this, the main show, and then All Stars, they're gonna like All Stars more than anything, even if you have no idea who any of the people are.
I like All Stars more than anything, and I don't know a lot of the people on All Stars.
It's just more fun. The main show has gotten too serious, like we've talked about it many times, but this is just like sterile almost. Like, it's like, okay, we're going to have a tough daily. Yes, it was tough. Good. Now we're going to sit around and talk to our partners about who we want to be partnered with. And we're
going to talk to the person that's going into elimination.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell us who they would like to go against.
I mean, at least...
and that's who we're going to throw in.
You know, some, like, at the end of last week, Kyland and Alyssa, you know, made a move and it worked. And then at least Tyson, you know, tried something this week. But, I mean, other than that, like, there's not much happening. Like, they're trying to, like, show this, like, love story between Cinco and Cachet.
There's
and it's
not
just
a love
like,
story there. The only thing I'm getting is Cachet can't get over her breakup with Cinco. Yeah. And Cinco has a long
He doesn't care at all.
Like, long move past it.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to talk about the show before we got into the show, but it's just like...
I'm not having a lot of fun right now.
I don't think it's bad. I don't think this is bad at all. And
I enjoy watching the dailies and the eliminations, kind of. But just that's only half of the episode. The other half of the episode, my mind, I'm actively trying to not check out.
It's like when you're like a fan of a band and like you loved like their first like 2 or 3 albums. And then they come out with some other stuff, and you're like, yeah, it's okay. And like, I still really like the band, and I'll listen to whatever they make. But if someone was to like be like, oh, I heard you like this band, should I check them out? You're like, no, listen to these things first.
Only.
Yeah, like, and like you got to work your way up to like where we're currently at, because it's not the same. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I did see that Tyson said on, I think it was Twitter, that he was complaining about the edit, as far as he's like, why are we spending like 5 minutes at the top of each episode showing the algorithm? He's like, we're going to see who's in pairs as the show goes along.
That's a good point.
And I was like, he's not wrong.
That's a good point.
Like, it does feel a little drawn out on that on that side of things. We did find out that Alangela is what I was about to say. Angela was an Olympic trials competitor.
I didn't catch that part.
Yeah. And so, like, she's got, like, very athletic pedigree to her. Because when she was partnered with Danny, she's like, oh, athletic trials competitor with a ex-NFL player? Like, yeah, like, we're going to be fine.
That's a really good pairing.
Sarah... I think they came, like, 4th or 5th, something like that.
Sarah was upset about finding out she was going to be partnered with Leo.
Not psyched about Leo is what I wrote. Yeah. I thought that I liked all the Amazing Race people at the beginning. I think I just liked James as Mario. I think he was fine. And I
liked James.
Yeah, and Kayla.
He was fun. James and Kayla together was fun.
Yeah, I don't like Leo, really.
I do not like Leo at all.
The longer we've gotten more screen time from him, he seems to be
cringy.
To me, he's the type that, like, really, like, goes out of his way in, like, a group setting to, like, be the loud, funny guy. And it's just like...
He doesn't come across as funny. It comes across as just loud.
Yeah, he makes jokes, and he's like, ah! And we're like, yeah, we got it. Like, we
got it the first time.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you how many times he's referred to himself as a cat. Or not a cat, or a catfish, or... It was
a lot, and that was part of why I was checking out. I was like, I just can't deal with that. Yeah. I don't have anything else on the partnerships. Ben, the cowboy, braids his daughter's hair at home.
But before that, before we get to the hair braid, I did have that Derek and Kayla, who I do like Derek.
I like Derek.
And they were actually a really strong team. His whole motto was just, they said, hashtag don't get last. Because Big Brother and Love Island, you know, they basically don't want to be on the outside looking in whenever teams are getting picked for the elimination. And then they performed incredible and were the front runner for the majority of the daily until, you know, we'll get to it in a minute. But yeah, Ben does braid hair.
He braided Sarah's hair like you braided my hair.
Yeah, it's not hard. I don't know.
It's kind of hard.
When this was, I don't remember how this came around. I think we were at my cousin's house. And it came up.
No, we were I was a camp counselor, and you were also there, and I was in charge of a group of, like, third grade girls.
Okay, so here's what happened.
Well, listen, I was in charge of a group of third grade girls, and they were all braiding each other's hair, and you were like, I can do that. And they're like, you're a boy, there's no way, you can't braid hair. And so you stood.
And I was like, first of all, I'm a man.
And they were like, they were trying to, you were trying to one-up them. A group of third grade girls.
I absolutely did.
They're like, you can't braid. And you're like, I'm going to prove you wrong. And so you then proceeded to braid my hair in front of them and shoved it in their faces.
I don't remember this, if I'm being honest.
I have a picture of it.
But what I was going to say was this exact scenario happened years prior with my cousin and his wife. And almost identical, like she was like, oh, I want my hair braided. And my cousin was just like, oh, I can't do it. And I was like, why? And then they didn't believe me. And then I did it. And I was like, you guys are morons. Like, why is this hard? And so it's not hard. I never, like, I had an older sister, but I never braided her hair or anything. It's not anything that, like, I practiced or... It's literally you just have 3 things and you just are cycling them through. And it's not hard in the least. I mean, if you get in, like, very specific styles of whatever, I'm sure it is. But, like, the generic 3-strand braids where it's over, under, it's not complicated. If anyone acts like it, and tell them to suck it up and get in the 4th grade. Because I guess you don't know it before that. So, yeah, I just wrote, Ben can braid hair, and I just said, me too.
I knew you would say something about it.
Ben and Sarah, again, we didn't watch their Survivor seasons. We watched Sarah's first Survivor season, but we didn't watch their later whatever with, you know, history with Tyson and Ben. Apparently Ben and Sarah are real close, and Tyson is not on the best terms with either of them because he got voted out by both of them.
Yeah.
And they actually showed the clip. I do appreciate that because CBS owns the rights to all of these shows, they can just pull clips and not have to worry about rights or anything like that. They can pull it in.
Just to give the
Context,
audience just a point of reference to view.
Yeah, because we can't do, even though Paramount owns CBS, which owns Big Brother, and Paramount owns MTV, I don't believe we've ever gotten Big Brother flashbacks on like the challenge. Whenever people have come, and
I thought we did when they were talking about Josh banging pans together in the Big Brother house.
I can't definitively say we didn't, but I don't feel like that's a thing that we watched on the challenge. Maybe it was, because I mean they all are under the same umbrella, parent company. Which, by the way, parent companies are getting way out of hand. I don't know. I don't even know if you know about this, but like Discovery bought now the rights to like HBO and HBO Max and all that stuff.
Like the Discovery, like National Geographic stuff.
But yeah, Discovery's just a brand now, and they're like completely scrapping original programming through HBO Max and all that stuff. And like they've canceled, like there's a Batgirl movie that was basically done that they're just like not coming out, and there's a new Scooby-Doo movie that they're like not coming, it's done, and they're like not happening. And then they've removed all these like HBO Max original movies from the platform, and then all of these like original shows. Now the HBO traditional shows like Game of Thrones and Barry and like all those are still fine, but like the Max originals, like the Gossip Girl reunion show,
I never watched it.
And like
because I heard it wasn't nearly as good.
Yeah, Our Flag Means Death and like Peacemaker from Suicide Squad and all that. Like those are all probably not going to come back.
Ooh.
And everyone's like, yeah, you know what name I associate with great original programming is Discovery.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Like HBO is the name. I don't know. Out of all the streamers, honestly, to me, HBO Max has one of the best like varieties of stuff on there, as far as just like all the things that and like old shows they have up on there. It's Discovery. Stop screwing stuff up.
Yeah.
So
take this as your first and final warning. I got to talk about it.
Okay.
Cachet.
That's what my next thing.
Confronts Cinco.
That literally is.
Well, I'm
there.
beating you to it. Cachet had to get all up in Cinco's face and complain
I
about.
don't feel like she was aggressive.
No, she wasn't. But she confronted him about how he's apparently been running around the house flirting with all the girls.
He can.
And
like, there's nothing wrong with that.
They're broken up,
Yeah.
and apparently it's been enough time that he's had a thing with Tiffany.
They haven't even seen each other since they broke up. It's the Cashel and Kira thing again. Like,
yeah,
theirs was just awkward, but like she doesn't.
Cachet is acting like they're still together,
or broke up like on the bus ride to the show,
and it just seems like I wrote a note. He's just as confused as I am.
Well, they showed a clip of like because she was talking about he's flirting with all these girls, and yeah, he did flirt with Tiffany and like carried her to bed. But I mean,
the thing was like he apparently had a thing like from my understanding, he broke up with Cachet, then was on Big Brother with Tiffany.
He wasn't on Big Brother.
No, okay, well,
he was not on Big Brother.
From what I've gathered, which I'm trying to stay off of like Twitter and stuff because I don't want to be spoiled on this season. But from the information I've gathered is he and Cachet broke up. Then he kind of had a thing with Tiffany.
They just a lot of these reality people run in the same circles.
Yeah, but he apparently had a thing with Tiffany after he broke up with Cachet, and now is on this show. So there's been some kind of time there for him to have something with somebody else.
Well, like the clip that they showed specifically in this episode of her getting annoyed was like Desi like putting like lotion on his back because he's a big guy, like he can't reach all. And like
I can't like if I was trying to put lotion on my back, I couldn't reach certain spots.
Like like it was like Cachet walking around, she's like, get a room or something. And I was like, there's nothing sexual happening here.
Like that's not. They broke up. He's allowed to talk to other people in the house. Also, they broke up. She can't control what he does or does not do.
No, and I mean...
And I get if you're feeling some type of way about it, but
it's your favorite book.
If if you're broken up, you don't really have a say in what the other person does.
No, I agree. It's especially when it's been like, it's not like they've been like reconciling, like trying to work on their differences. Like they haven't spoken until they both were cast on the show.
No,
again.
and he has said in multiple episodes and multiple confessionals that he is very much over their relationship.
And that it's just awkward interacting with her.
And she has said on multiple occasions it's her favorite love story and how much she loved him and he's always going to be special to her.
Even all of this, which is about the only like drama we have on this season so far, is still incredibly boring.
Yeah. It's just she's not over him, he's over her. That's it.
You made it sound like, oh, she jumped all over him, but really it's just like,
no, I'm trying to spice up this episode.
There's nothing and he's very soft spoken.
Yeah.
And like non-confrontational from, I mean, maybe on Love Island he was, but like in this, he seems very reserved and
very
like
calm.
There's nothing happening. It's just like, oh, wow, I wish we were together still. And he's like, we're not. And
yeah.
That's it. And
cut scene.
So we get to the daily. It's called Barreled Treasure. Arguably, I'd say better name than some of the other ones, but still not great.
Yeah.
Basically, you swim 150 yards to a buoy. You memorize a code on that buoy. You swim 75 yards to a cargo ship. And then you open your lid with puzzle pieces, swim it all the way back to the shore. And then you have to do the whole thing again. And if you open the wrong barrel, you have to swim the 75 yards back to the buoy, memorize your code again, and then back to the ship. So that's another 150 yards, basically, when you mess it up. I believe only one team messed it up, which we'll get to in a minute. But
right at the top, Leo makes another cringy cat joke about being a catfish.
You can tell he like planned that out.
Yes.
And then Sarah just like left the confessional.
It was a premeditated joke.
Yeah.
Which are not the funny kind. We want like off the cuff jokes.
Yeah, like it's you can tell when someone's like naturally funny or if they've like planned stuff out and it's like
they memorize jokes to pull out at opportune times.
Yeah, it's not the same. So he does his catfish joke. And
then
jokes
he
on
can't
him.
swim.
Yeah, because catfish can swim, and
he can't.
They also are bottom feeders. But yeah, I don't have a lot of notes about this specific daily. Like we said earlier, Derek and Kayla are killing it the whole time.
Yeah.
Cache opens the wrong barrel.
Well, she can't swim either.
She can't. Well, I didn't even say that because we already knew that in another episode. But then in the elimination, she wanted to be the one going in and out of the water, which made no sense.
In the daily,
in that elimination with Dominic.
But in this daily, she can't swim, so Tyson literally has to drag her by the life jacket.
It is smart to do it the way they did, where the life jacket's keeping her afloat. She doesn't have to use her upper body. She's just using her legs to basically be a motor. Because Azza did not do that, and Leo did not do that.
Leo got on Sarah's back.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure only slowed her down by a lot.
Well, Cache is the only person that opened the wrong barrel. And
she got up on the boat and immediately opened a barrel.
Yeah. It's just like she was just popping them all open.
I didn't even see Tyson get on the boat yet.
Well, they didn't even have a good camera angle or anything like that. It was like a weird wide shot, and they just had a lower third with a producer talking. It's like, hey, you got to go back. And Tyson just gets pissed, and I was like, well, they're out of this, and they swim and go back, and so they're 150 yards behind everyone.
Tyson has every right to be furious.
Yes. And then I don't. The only notes I really have is Derek and Kayla are still killing it. Leo is still struggling crazy hard. And Tyson and Cache miraculously win somehow, even after being in sixth place the majority of the time.
In the middle of this, Angela tries to pull NFL player Danny up the rope ladder onto the boat, and he gets embarrassed and says that his wife Kiki is going to kill him for looking bad.
Yeah.
Enzo, I don't think can swim either.
He can't. I think to me, Enzo seemed more winded, and he just is like, I'm struggling to keep up.
Well, he
was the one that wouldn't jump off the sides.
He wouldn't
either.
jump off the side of the boat into the water. He had to climb back down the rope ladder to get back in the water, which nobody else did, and it took up a lot of time. His partner, I can't remember who it was, but said as much.
Desi, maybe. I don't remember.
Cinco in a confessional says that he realizes Azah is giving her all, but complains that it's not nearly enough, which it's not. And then they cut to her in the middle of the daily, and she's breathing so heavy, I thought she was going to collapse again.
Azah, listen, we've seen this dozens of times over the years. There are some people who are just not made for this type of show. And she is almost the like exact definition of, she's probably a great person, probably a lot of fun to be around. They may have loved her on Big Brother, where you just kind of hang out in a house and play carnival games in the backyard. This is a different show. Mm-hmm. And
it's very physically demanding.
From day one, the first daily, she almost died. And then in the first elimination she did, she looked like she was about to die. And anything that's like strenuous like this, she is not cut out for it. And
I wrote that in the middle of this, she sounds like she's about to collapse again.
She did.
And she probably needs to be medically disqualified if she can't compete. Because it seems like she very seriously cannot keep up. I mean, even someone like Enzo, who is a lot older, maybe not necessarily in the best shape.
Well, Enzo's in better shape than Dominic.
But he even Enzo is even saying in the middle of this daily, I can't keep up. I'm a lot slower than them. He's at least still able to compete.
Yeah.
He's still able to get in the water and swim, and
it's just slower.
He's a little bit slower, but he's still doing it. I didn't think she would be able to finish this. And even so, after saying this, a few seconds or minutes later, Azah and Cinco are going back and forth again, and TJ has to yell out for Azah to not quit.
Well, on the last barrel, like from where you're at the ship and you grab your last thing and then jump in, he like counts down and he tries to jump in with her, and she just doesn't jump, and he's like, come on. And she just is like exasperated and like wouldn't even jump in the water. And it's like she was like struggling to like stand up. And I was like, well, then jump in the water. You have a life vest on, like it's gonna keep you afloat. And I was like, she's just not cut out for this show. And I was like, if they come in last, I have a hard time believing that she'll make it through an elimination. Mm-hmm. They did come in last, and then she immediately like starts crying and like break, like, because it's so physically strenuous for her body just gives up.
Yeah.
And she's just, again, she's not built for it. And it's not like, she's a very like slight, like frail looking person, very skinny, and like, you know, Cachet, very similar body type as far as like they're built like about the same size. But Cachet tries.
Yeah.
Like like she just can't swim, but she was like, you know what? I can't swim, but I'm gonna kick my feet and I'm gonna at least do something. And I don't particularly like the Love Island people still, but some of them have grown on me a little bit. You know, the Tyson and Cachet win. Obviously, I mean, Tyson is just a freak at this point. I mean, I don't see how he's not the favorite, especially with Xavier gone. Katelin is maybe a dark horse. I mean, as far as like runner up, like I could see Katelin winning, not a dark horse. A dark horse would be like, I don't even know on the guy's side. I don't think Leo is going to win, clearly. Cinco maybe would have been a dark horse just because he's so big. And, you know, maybe he can like do some endurance stuff. We haven't seen much from him. Danny, well, Danny's a professional athlete. Yeah. Like to me, that's not a dark horse candidate.
Well, I don't know. You're the one that said dark horse. You're trying to make it work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just someone who, like, if they were around at the end, you could be like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to give them favorite odds, but like, it wouldn't surprise me if they won. I think maybe a guy like Cashel would have been that, because apparently the other guys in the house were kind of
afraid of
a
him,
little worried about him, which I still don't really get.
He was apparently Tyson's biggest threat in the house.
I mean, I think Ben could be a threat to win at the end if he's still there. If Tyson and him don't take one or the other out. But anyway, Cinco tells Azah that he doesn't want to tell Cache anything. He doesn't want to name any names because in his mind she's going to use that against them. Again, her side of things is it's my favorite book, even if it's the worst thing even if we're not together, I still love reading it, and even if it hurts me. And he's just like, I don't trust her at all
because she'll use it against me in the future.
And
that's he even said, he's like, that's the kind of person she is.
Yeah, I feel like she really romanticizes like their relationship, like in hindsight.
Like she has looked back on it every day with rose-colored glasses, and he has prescription grade lenses.
Yeah, I don't know, but so we have that winners and losers talk, which we've done every episode.
Neither one of them spilled the beans.
Literally nothing happens.
Well, like you even made a comment when we were watching it. The edit showed 2 separate times of Cinco just laying it out. Do not tell either one of them anything. Don't name any names. Just go in there and don't say a word. And you were like, she's going to say something.
Well, yeah, to her credit, she didn't. But I was like, man, they're really like laying this out like as plain as you can. And you know what? They stuck to it. And you get to the end of their little talk, and Tyson and Cache are like, well, everyone's on the table. Like, I don't think they were going to really take their opinion very seriously anyway.
But still, like, the way it's been going is the pairing that's definitely going into elimination has been given the opportunity to say, I don't want to go against this group, and I would like this group.
It's preferably cordial. Like, it's a very arranged thing, but, they're being respectful of each other's wishes to a degree.
But if you go in and don't even... That was Cache's thing. She was like, well, just give us a name of someone you definitely don't want to go against.
I do feel, though, like she was like prying to get a name said during that.
I'm sure she was, but if... two sides of the same coin, if you don't give anything, then you're agreeing to this winning team. Whoever they say, they could throw in the 2 strongest people in the house, and you've just given it to them.
If I'm being honest, if I'm Cinco in this situation, you're like, well, my ex-girlfriend, who seemingly is in love with me, is partnered with the most dominating guy in the house. They get to decide who I go against, and my partner has almost died multiple times on the daily. You're not really in a good headspace probably going into there, and so you're just like, whatever. Like, it's not going to get much worse, and I probably don't have a great shot, in this elimination.
I didn't even think about that. He probably wasn't a weird headspace.
And so you're just like, yeah, we're not going to say anything, and...
Because this episode was not the first time that Cache had come up to talk to him.
No. Oh no, good God, no.
Yeah. So if she's like repeatedly doing that,
and now she has power,
it probably did make him feel kind of some type of way.
And then the producer's like, "Hey, you guys got to go in this room and talk about this," and you're just like, "I just want this to be over." And so this is where we find out. This is where like the political campaign that Sarah inadvertently lays out against Leo starts. From what we see, she's just telling everyone how awful he is and how he was like, oh yeah, I'm great at swimming, don't worry about it. And so she just kind of like sets the stage of, you don't want to be partnered with Leo if you're one of the girls here.
She ran around the whole house dragging Leo's name through the mud.
Deservedly. Also, fittingly, catfishes live down in the mud. That's where they hang out. They're on the bottom of the river.
Well, she did it. She treated him like a real catfish.
Yeah, they if you need to fish for catfish, they love to eat liver, like chicken livers.
They do like chicken livers.
They love liver stuff. They're weird animals.
Like whenever I would go fishing with my grandfather.
Grishin?
Fishing with my grandfather when I was a kid.
Shortened to Grishin.
Yeah, whenever I went Grishin, that was one thing. He would take me to the specifically either the Piggly Wiggly or the sunflower. Back when
they will have like random things of chicken livers.
They would have
trust me.
these little white Tupperware containers full of chicken livers, and it's
like $3 for a thing.
Yeah, it was like $2.99,
yeah.
and he would buy a whole little container of it, and we'd take it out on the boat, and you
rip them in half, and
he would hook it on my line for me, and we'd fish for catfish.
Fishing for catfish is easy comparatively because like when you're fishing for like bass or like carp or anything like that or bluegill, like you use like a lure that you're trying to like artificially show movement and make them think that there's something in the water that's like moving around like a grub or like a worm or something like that with those tails that catches their eyes.
That's why you use the ones that are like bright color, like neon colors and glittery
and they move
flashy.
Yeah, they've
metallic.
got the little like squiggly tails and they move in the water when you reel.
They're cute.
Yeah. So with catfish, you're just like put a weight on that, put the hook down there,
drop it to the bottom,
drop it and leave it. You don't move it. Like don't even try to like reel it in. Just hang out until something happens, and then inevitably something's gonna come along and pull on it, and then you just start reeling, pull back, set the hook, reel it in, and
then you take your catfish home. And you skin it.
I don't like catfish to eat.
You skin it and you chop it up.
This is very southern. What we're getting into.
Yeah, you skin it. You debone it and you chop it up in little pieces and you bread it in cornmeal. And you drop it in a cast iron skillet full of vegetable oil.
You guys like
you fry it.
My family did not do any of this. Like
your family's from Illinois.
No, my
mom is.
My dad's from Africa.
Well, yeah,
and
they did things different out there too.
Yeah, but that whole thing, like, I just don't enjoy eating cat. And most people do it in fillets, not in like pieces, like what you're saying.
Well, you can do fillets, but my little Filipino grandma, she chopped that in little chunks, like the chicken liver chunks. But yeah, you roll it and you bread it in cornmeal.
Yeah.
And then you get your cast iron skillet hot and boiling with vegetable oil, and you drop it in there and you fry it.
Yeah.
Then after you fry your fish, make sure you lay it on layers of paper towel so it soaks up the extra oil, and then you throw in potatoes
to make it healthy. Yeah.
She would take like actual potatoes from the garden. She'd peel and I guess slice them up.
Debone them, yeah.
She'd debone them and slice them up, and then she would fry the potatoes in the same oil as the catfish, so it would have like a little bit extra seasoning. That's a good summer southern lunch right there.
Catfish are just dirty fish. I don't enjoy eating them. Like I like fish, but I don't enjoy catfish, and fried catfish just tastes like a lot of nothing to me. You just got to dip it in something, and you just get fried meat of whatever you're dipping it in.
It's cheap.
It is cheap. It's cheap because they're bottom feeders. They're just plentiful around here. And you know what's crazy though is, so like. This is just catfish talk. So
this is now a catfish podcast.
So like I grew up the biggest catfish I ever caught. I was probably like 8 years old, and I was down on the river with my neighbors, and we were out there. And
your neighbors that used to live down the street from where my parents live.
No, I didn't live in the neighborhood.
That's right.
Yes, so no.
I was thinking buddies.
Yeah, no, my literal next door neighbors. I went with their dad and like the older two sons, which were younger than me, but we went and we were out fishing, and I caught this huge catfish. It was, for like a 9-year-old, like it was like a 10-pound catfish. Mm-hmm. And, my neighbor kept it and they ate it. But like for some reason, like I had a baseball game and they like, I got to go fishing. I just remember like having to like hurry to get back, change into my baseball uniform, pose for a picture with the fish in my baseball uniform because of my mom. I'm sure my mom has this picture somewhere.
She probably does.
And then like, all right, see you guys. I got to go play baseball and
enjoy the fish I caught.
Yeah, and it was huge. That was the biggest catfish I ever caught. But when I was in Kenya in 2014, we were at this place, and they're like, hey, you know, if you guys want, you can, like, fish in this, like, downtime. And it was, like, cane fishing. Like, no reels. It was literally, like, a stick with a line and a hook. Nothing else. And we were like, okay, well, what do we do with that? And they're like, oh, don't worry. Like, we'll go get some beef from the kitchen. And we're like, do fish eat beef? And sure enough, they do.
I bet they eat whatever you put in there.
Yeah, we caught a lot of weird catfish. And, like, they were the weirdest looking catfish I've ever seen. They, like, tapered. They had whiskers like all catfish do. But they, like, tapered down, like, to have, like, back ends like how, like, eels do.
Weird.
Yeah, instead of, like, fins, like, at the end. Like, yeah, I've got pictures of it.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like, it's the only time I've ever, like, taken raw beef and, like, meat, put it on a hook, just threw it in there, and you're just waiting around, and you catch catfish. That's how you do it in Kenya, though.
Listen, them suckers get big.
These weren't that big.
Heavy.
These were not that big.
Well, around here, they're gigantic.
Yeah, they can be.
And you'll, like, potentially break an arm trying to reel one in.
Oh, my neighbor who I caught the big one with, he used to go out at the dam, which is...
That's where my Filipino grandma goes.
But that near the, like, the
turbines.
The turbines
Yeah,
of
that's
the
where
dam,
grandma goes.
That's where the big ones would, like, breed.
That's
and, like,
why
hang
she
out.
would go.
He would go at night. And he ended up being in the paper because in one night he caught 2 50-pound ones.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. It's like, this is insane.
That's the thing. Like, if you really want to catch catfish, like when I went with my grandfather, it was just leisurely summertime stuff. We'd go out at like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. But if you really want to catch like legit catfish, go in the middle of the night.
Do you see how those look? That's the pictures of them.
They're little.
Again, they're eating beef.
And weird.
And then I caught, like, that's tilapia.
Yeah, that's not a catfish.
No. But I mean, we caught just whatever. I wasn't specific. But yeah, the catfish are very odd. Well, that's enough catfish talk.
What were we talking about?
Catfish. No, it's because Leo said he could swim.
Because he thought he was a catfish. Yeah, like, here's the thing. If you are still partnered with this person... and you are not safe from elimination, why would you run around the whole house dogging your current partner to everybody that would listen? Because that's going to make everybody in the house be like, I don't want to be partnered with this person. Why don't you throw this person into elimination so we don't have to worry about it?
Yeah, not great strategy. And, like,
especially because... one of the two people that are safe from elimination that have the power to throw in anybody, one of those females has not yet been partnered with Leo.
Yeah.
So that gives her even more incentive.
I honestly don't think she was thinking like that. I think she's just frustrated and was like, I'm done. Now he's not my partner anymore, but he really is until the elimination.
I get it. Like, it'd be one thing for her to, like, she went to Danny first and then she went to Ben. It would be one thing if those were the only two people she talked to, but it kept cutting and she was talking to a different person and a different person. And I mean, like, you're basically throwing yourself out at the mercy of the court by saying this person's awful and I had to do all the work and he couldn't do anything and he's the worst partner ever. Cachet has not been partnered with him yet. She's going to do what she can to make sure she's not going to be partnered with him.
One more note on catfish.
Oh, okay. They're good with ketchup.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
I don't like the idea of noodling.
What?
Catfish noodling. Do you know what that is? That's real redneck stuff.
That's where you just stick your hand in and you just grab them by the mouth.
Yeah, because catfish like burrow, I guess, in holes and stuff.
Yeah, and under logs and stuff.
And you stick your whole arm down there and you just hope they chomp on, and then you like bicep curl.
Yeah, and then you just
come out their gills on the and then you lock your it's I would never do that. Yeah. Also, there's way too many snakes and stuff around here. We're not that type. Like, we're in the South, but we're not that. I don't do that.
No, but I have friends that do that.
I like...
acquaintances.
I like fishing. Like, fishing's fun. Like, when we move to Utah, I'm going to get into fly fishing and stuff like that. I enjoy
fishing.
Yeah.
I don't bait my own hooks, but I enjoy the rest of the process.
You'll like fly fishing then because it's all artificial. It's not... It's stuff made to mimic, to look like insects. But
and that was the thing. Like, I preferred... bass fishing with my dad because I would use like the little hot pink little artificial glittery one. I did not like touching chicken livers. It's a weird consistency to me.
They smell weird too.
They smell awful.
My mom loves to eat chicken livers.
I know.
Fried chicken livers.
I know. That's a Southern thing.
Yeah, and she's the one that's not from the South.
Well, my grandfather, when
she also eats anything, though.
He would buy the totes of chicken livers to fish with, and whatever's left, he'd bring it home.
God, that's such a... Like, that is so unsafe.
Bring it home and fry it.
That's so unsafe because when you buy them, catfish talk again. If you buy them, they're refrigerated. They're at the grocery stores or wherever, refrigerated.
Yeah, we had a cooler.
Okay. Oh, so he at least kept them in the cooler the whole time?
Yeah, we had a little one of those like old 90s red what are they? Igloo coolers.
The ones that like flip open.
Yeah.
It's still not
We kept it on ice.
It's probably not up to like food safety standards.
We had an even bigger cooler that when we caught good fish, we'd throw them in the big cooler.
See, all the people I went with, they didn't keep the chicken livers cool because they're in their mind, they're not like, you know what? If we don't catch a catfish, I'll just eat like one tonight. Like they're just, they just were like, if you know what, it's $3 and we spent the day out here, we'll throw it away.
You take them home and you roll them in the cornmeal too and you fry them.
No, I actively remember like at the end of the day, we just like you hold the buck, like the little Tupperware type thing, and you just like kind of chuck and hold on to it. So
my dad would do that.
So it all just goes in the water, so you're just feeding the fish for free.
Yeah, I don't think my dad eats chicken livers.
Yeah, because...
But he would do that. He would just dump out the rest.
Yeah, because you're not poor. You don't need to...
Hey, back in the day...
If you can go buy chicken livers at a grocery store, you don't need to be like, you know what, this is going to give me nutrition later. A lot of iron, probably.
Waste not, want not. When you grow up in the country in the 60s and 70s, you learn to be frugal.
Well, I did appreciate that Kayla decides, because her and Derek are kind of on the outside looking in, because the two people in charge, Survivor, Love Island. Her team is Amazing Race, Big Brother. And they also were second in the daily, and so it's like they could be considered to go into an elimination. So she decides that she's going to do some like strategizing and tell Tyson that she's heard Ben is talking whatever, which I don't know if it actually happened or not.
Well, earlier in the episode, Tyson and Sarah have a talk, and Sarah's like, well, me and Ben are really close. We're really tight, and we want to work with you so that we can all make it to the end. And he was like, are you sure that Ben feels that way and that he's like on board with working with me too? And she's like, oh yeah, definitely. And so the fact that he, was already questioning that to begin with, all it took for Kayla to do was just to mention it once.
Yeah.
And Tyson's like, yeah,
that
probably.
That seed was already there.
All she did was water it.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if she just completely made that up. If she did, good gameplay on her end. But
she took some notes from Mario James.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he probably was like, hey, on their season, this happened, whatever, if she hasn't watched it. But
he watched everybody's season, so he knows.
So we get to the elimination.
Before that, you appreciated Kayla. I appreciated Ben on the treadmill in his cowboy hat.
Didn't even notice it.
Cowboy's gonna cowboy.
I did see when he was putting on his shirt, either for the elimination or for the daily, he has a tattoo on his ribs of like
a cowboy hat.
No, well, I mean, maybe, but it looked like someone like riding a bull or riding a horse or something. Like it was like a cowboy thing.
It probably
so there probably is a hat.
It probably was a cowboy hat.
Yeah, because like I know that most of the like bull riders now wear those like helmets with face masks, which they should, because
you can die.
But that doesn't look cool in a tattoo. So you'd get the hat.
That's not how they did it in the olden days.
True. I mean, bull riding is weird in general. But we get to the elimination kind of out of nowhere. Because the way that they set that clip up with Kayla is it made it seem like he might go after Ben. But instead, he picks Sarah and Leo because he's more than anything, we get a flashback. And Cachet was like, I don't want to be partnered with Leo.
Right.
Get rid of him if we can. And so he's like, okay, because he knows that Sarah is so close with Ben.
Mm-hmm. Also, Justine, who's currently partnered with Ben, is very, very tight with Cachet. And Cachet's like, I can't throw in Justine, so we can't throw in Ben.
And I mean, Justine and Tyson won a daily together. I mean, she's honestly surprised me how well she's done, because the first impressions the Love Island people gave was not great. It may be the best thing that her best friend went home like day one, because now all she's got to focus on is winning.
It's just herself. So it's kind of made her
kind of rip the Band-Aid off
and step up to perform to stay alive, basically.
So they pick Leo and Sarah, and Danny makes the point like, oh, this is like a Survivor move. Like, if you want to go after somebody, you take out their alliance. You don't necessarily go after them.
Right.
And so Tyson wanted Ben and Justine, like you said, but Cachet did not want to be partnered with Leo. Because, again, how much Sarah's been talking about it, and just because how bad he's performed.
And now none of the other women want to be paired with him.
So this elimination is called a dark turn, which, you know what? Given the names we've gotten so far, probably the best one of the season.
Yeah.
It's not great, but
it wasn't walk inside a dark shipping container and then put puzzles together.
I mean, last week's was literally like punch in, puzzle out, or something like that, and it was like, you're not even trying. And a dark turn is at least like, okay, you're in a dark room and there's film even though they're not film reels. I think they just were like, oh, what could these be? And so when this one started, you and I both were like, oh, this is tough.
Yeah.
And honestly, I did not think to do right away what Leo and Sarah did, where they're like, hey, we're just going to make it like a rubric, essentially, where put all four of them together. We're going to take our time, not rush in there like the other team's doing. We're going to measure with our fingers. That'll come in play in a minute. Mm-hmm. All right, this one is 2 fingers wide. This one is 3. This number 3 is like my fist, and number 4 is like your fist. And so, and they also do numerically. Mm-hmm. Which is much easier to remember.
Yeah.
Because
1, 2, 3, 4.
One easy. 1 smallest, 4 is the biggest, obviously. The other team did tiny, small, medium, big. And if anything,
TSMB.
If anything, you should do small, medium, large, extra large, or something like that. But they started tiny, small, medium, big. And so the other team's taking, I mean, not the other team, but Sarah and Leo are taking their time. Again, in the confessionals, though, Leo is very not someone you want to be friends with.
It's a lot. Like, as soon as Leo and Sarah were thrown in, Leo was like, I kept calling Tyson my big brother, but you don't treat your little brother like this. And I was like, just because you look up to someone and you want to be close to them does not mean they reciprocate that.
Yeah, it's like...
Tyson does not seem to view Leo as a little brother. You can't just say, oh, that's like my big brother if you don't really have a relationship with him.
From what we've seen, there has been zero interaction between the two of them.
Yeah.
And they don't come from the same show. If anything, everyone that knows like Tyson's background is like, oh, like he makes big moves and like he's a threat. Like, there's nothing to say like, oh, he's best friends and like mentor and like, I don't know. I feel like that's just a thing where like Leo is just like, hey Tyson, did you hear my joke about being a catfish earlier? And he's like, yeah, it's great, man. And he's like, you're my big brother. And there's nothing there.
It's like, I don't know how to say this.
That's a Good Burger joke. That is a joke from Good Burger, and it is a good, because Keenan said, I don't know how to say this, and Ed goes, oh, it's easy, you just go this.
It's so stupid.
That's a good, there's some
good joke.
Genuinely good writing in that, because my favorite part, which always sticks out to me in that movie, is when there's a couple of them, but one when Keenan hands Ed a contract in there, because I don't remember Keenan's character name in that movie, but it's like a big contract signing over the rights to the secret sauce, and he's like, And then he's reading through, and after a minute, he goes, I know some of these words. And then he's like, great. It's good.
Anyway, no. Just because you look up to someone and admire them, and like it may, especially if it's someone who is doing really well in the game and someone who is a really big threat in the house, obviously to save your own skin, you want to be on good terms with them. But just because you look up to them and admire them does not mean you get to...
It's reciprocated.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you get to leech off of them. and
he's like one of those little like sucker fish that like hangs on to the
like,
sharks.
It's like he was trying to forcefully attach himself to Tyson, and Tyson's like, what?
Yeah, like...
That's not how it works. To get one of these to work, you've got to establish a relationship, build that relationship, take care of that relationship, and then you get to do things like that. Like, oh, this is my big brother.
It's not quite to the same level, but I was just read something on Twitter earlier that reminded me of it. It's like the people who like get like obsessed or like infatuated with like girl streamers or stuff like that.
Yeah.
To where they like are like, no, if like she's my girlfriend, she just doesn't know it yet. Like, you know, we'll hang out when we go to VidCon together. When she sees me, like she knows who I am.
Yeah, and then obviously she's there because you go to make money and stuff, and then, you know, like they take pictures with fans. Yeah. And then like he sets that as his wallpaper and prints it out.
And then he's like in her like Twitch chat and like giving her money, and so like it's very much like that type of relationship, it seems. Because
here's the thing: if Tyson really felt that way about Leo, like that they were really close, he wouldn't have thrown him in. No, he would have thrown in someone else.
Yeah, there's no strategic advantage anyway. So I told you at one point, I was like, you know, this is an interesting elimination because the people watching can't help really because they can't see the key.
Right.
And so I said that, and then immediately Alyssa yells out to Azah and Cinco, use your fingers to measure. And Azah...
This was so funny.
It reminded me of... Oh, what movie was it? It was either... I think it was The Sandlot, but it might have been some other baseball movie. But it's where something happened. It may have been like Angels in the Outfield. It may have been Angels in the Outfield, where they do like the kid hits and he's running, and they're like, "Run home!" And he just takes it in the most literal sense.
And just runs home.
And then just run home. And so it's like, use your fingers, like fingers. And she like puts them between there and like smacks them up and down.
She smacks them up and down.
And I was like, she's not like a robot, like where she's got like calipers in her. And
it's the dumbest thing I've seen in so long.
But it was funny because she did it for all four of them. Like, it wasn't like she did one and she's like, oh, wait, that doesn't make sense. She did it. She's like, okay, that one's about like that. And it's like, this one's a little bit more. And then I was like... I
just couldn't.
Yeah, I was like, wow. I was like, that's...
I couldn't.
I mean, everyone has like... We watch a lot of Taskmaster. There's a lot of times where like people's brains, just for whatever reason, like don't
fart.
They don't fart?
No, your brain farts.
Yeah, they don't... You just like, something doesn't connect. But like, this was like... Okay, use your fingers and like smack up and down.
Bang it in between.
And then let's do it to all four because the crowd's yelling at me to use my fingers to measure. And even if she would have went like and just put her finger beside it and been like, okay, that's like the length of my first like.
Yeah, two knuckles, one knuckle.
Yeah, but no, she's just and just like smacking it around, and I was like, good Lord. So Leo and Sarah win
by a long shot
because they had a good system and they thought it all out.
Because they actually knew how to use their fingers. Yeah.
But then, like, I wrote Leo and Sarah win, and then I just said they are weird, and
yeah,
because he looked at he'd already said in his confessionals a couple times about the Big Brother thing. He looks at Tyson and he's like, I looked at you like my big brother, and Tyson's just like shrugged and he was like, what? Okay. And
like, when did you establish that?
And then Sarah was like doing the like cutthroat thing, and then like acting like she was at like Disney World and got like a turkey leg, and I don't know what that means. I've never seen someone do that in like an intimidating fashion.
Maybe she means like, I'm going to eat you
Your
alive.
dead meat or something.
Yeah, dead meat, maybe.
I mean, you shouldn't have to like get in the realm of like physically showing a threat. You shouldn't have to like give notes on what it is. Because even Tyson was like, I don't really know what she was doing. And I was like, man, this is it. You know what it reminded me of? If I didn't put it together until just now, it reminded me of when the Timberwolves won the play-in game.
Oh my gosh.
To make the playoffs, and they're just like losing their minds, and
crying,
and like throwing their jerseys into the crowd, and you're like, okay, like this isn't the final. Like you didn't win the
championship.
This is episode 5, and it wasn't even like they took out Tyson, or they took out
Azza,
one of the weakest pairs imaginable at this point.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like you did it, but like let's bring it down a little bit.
It was a lot.
You know who could have done that was last week when they beat Xavier and Shan, or when Kayla and James beat Cashel and Tiffany.
That would have been upsets. The one to make the big
This is like,
on.
yeah, you were the favorite to win. It's just they were hoping that Leo kind of sucked.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. They are. I do think they are weird. And then
the last thing I said at the end of this,
crying over Cinco.
No, I forgot about that. I didn't make a note because I knew that she would. You know, we talked about this at the last episode. You know, at the end of the actual episode, they're not showing who's partnered with who. That's how they're wanting to start the episode. I'm with Tyson on this. We're going to know anyway when we see them paired up for dailies, but whatever. Last thing I said was I think it'll be really funny if Tyson and Sarah are paired together. Like the next pairing.
or Leo and Cache.
Yeah, or Leo and Cache, because then they can't can't go after them.
If either one of those happens, then I have a suspicion that
this is not
it's not random. I have a suspicion that it's not like a RNG, like they use in video games a lot, like random number generator to determine like what prize you get out of a loot box. Like, so technically this is possible, but there's 1,000 numbers, and if you land between 1 and 100, you get this, and if you land like on 999 to 1,000, you get a crazy prize. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's like a random number generator type thing. If the next episode we get some very suspicious drama pairs, I'm gonna be like, oh, this is a production picking. Mm-hmm. Straight up,
I already think it's production picking.
I agree, but we haven't had anything egregious yet, and so
I need proof.
Yeah,
I gotta prove myself right.
It's part of kind of like not a curse, but it's like watching these shows so much, you don't have just a like, oh, I'm just a fan, like, oh, it's time to tune in. Like, we kind of know how like the behind the scenes works on a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's not like we're fresh, innocent little doe eyes that are surprised by every twist and turn.
Yeah, it's not like, and it's not even like when I'm watching like a Fast and the Furious movie where I'm like, yeah, this is insane, but it's every minute of it is so good. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense, but like this type of thing, I don't even know if that's a good analogy. But
I don't think so either, because you love the Fast and the Furious movies.
I do.
And they're so popular because they're so insane.
Yeah, they've gotten better. Like, again, if
they're going to space in the next one.
They went to space in the last one,
but they're going to real space this time.
I don't know about that, but
or they'll time travel.
That's where it's gonna. I hope so. I really do hope so. I hope that at some point they go back in time and meet themselves in like Fast 1, because even though Paul Walker's not around anymore, they've already proven that they can get his brother to play him and then just CGI the face. Mm-hmm. Like, I hope that they go back in time and then they're just like, oh, we went so fast, we're in the 70s or 80s or whatever, like go way back. And that's what they should. Oh, they should. they should go so fast that they end up in like the 1600s. And then there's no cars except for the ones that accidentally got transported. And then everyone thinks they're like witches or something because they have these machines that can go so fast and there's no roads. I need to write for these movies. Also, another thing that I've seen a lot of people suggest, which I would love, is a like combination film of Fast and Furious and Jurassic Park, where
I would lose
where they
my
overlap.
freaking mind.
A lot of people are giving Jurassic World Dominion a lot of crap, but like
we went to see it. It's pretty good.
If you like the Jurassic World type of movies, and you can just sit there and be like, yeah, it's not going to be like the Best Picture nomination, but like,
but there's dinosaurs.
It's dinosaurs and action, and it's fun. Like it's just a fun movie.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah. So
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Anyway, Cache cries over Cinco, and then that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. We saw it coming.
Yeah. This show's just not built for Ozza. I expected we'd have a couple duds like that.
No, Ozza's not built for this show.
That's what I meant. I said it backwards. But surprisingly, after day one, who has kind of just like stuck around like middle of the pack? Shannon. The one that cried the very first day and was like, I don't know if I can be here. She's not been awful.
She's hung around.
Yeah, like she's not done anything noteworthy, but I mean, she like stabbed Dominic in the beginning, like last time on the challenge.
Yeah.
That's about the most fun we've seen them have in the house. Mm-hmm. You want to get into superlatives for this episode?
Sure.
Who smashed some heads?
Tyson. In that daily, because one, he was already partnered with Cache, who can't swim.
Yeah.
Two, he was having to drag her by the life jacket while swimming himself against it in a swimming race. Mm-hmm. Three, she didn't wait for him and immediately just opened the first barrel she could find, and it was the wrong one, which made them have to swim another however many yards out.
It's 75 each way, so it's 150 more yards.
Had to make him swim and drag her with him.
Just a visual representation, that's 1.5 football fields.
That's a long, yeah. He had every right to be mad. He was mad.
He was.
And not only that, but to, in the midst of that, to make up all that time, pass some of these other slower teams. Like Danny was on his way to the boat and he saw Tyson come up from behind him and pass him.
Yeah, he made a joke about it.
Toting Cache behind.
I like Danny.
I like Danny a lot.
I like Danny.
But to do that, and then Derek and Kayla, who had this huge monumental lead working on their puzzle, almost have it. Tyson gets in there, does the puzzle in seemingly seconds, probably a few minutes. Mm-hmm. But I mean, to come back from that and win the daily, insane. Yeah, it's insane.
I think he's like, man, if Vegas put odds on, which he can't, just because like people would leak like who actually won and stuff like that. Like he's far and away the favorite to win. He would have the worst betting odds because it's like, yeah, like we expect him to win.
Yeah.
For me, who smashed heads, man, I don't want to say either of them. And I definitely don't want to say Sarah or Leo. You know what? I'll give it to Cinco, because even though he lost, he can just kind of get away from Cache, and he can be like, we can go back to not talking. It's fine. Like, I don't feel like she's like a crazy like stalker or anything.
No, but
like Cashel,
yeah,
was kind of weird. Like that.
Spelling out Kira's name on the board.
About having cash in your name.
I don't know. Cache seems like a nice person.
Yeah,
but you can tell Cinco doesn't want to be around her.
Yeah, like
he seems very uncomfortable around her,
and he thinks that you can't tell her anything; she'll use it against you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's mine. I want to go with. Now I get to go first for who got their head smashed. It's got to be Ozza when she was like, "Let's measure these things." Like I don't think how it could be anything else. Like,
mine was Sarah smashing her own head,
I get
running
it.
around the house, complaining about Leo before the elimination because, that kind of put herself in elimination.
Yeah, it did, but I was just like, good God, like that is one of the biggest like brain lapses I've ever seen. And so, oh yeah, that's mine.
Wow.
So for recommendations for reading, to recap, I'll give a recap of mine so far.
Okay.
It was
I have mine.
Paper Girls, which I've not finished all of yet. The full story, I've read half of it. I've read through part 3. Still really good. The next one was Oblivion Song. And then after that, it was... what did I say after that? I already forgot.
I don't know.
I wrote it down. I know I did Analog last week, which was another good one. Let me go back and look at my notes. Oh, you know what? I've only done 3 so far because episode 1 and 2 were combined.
Together.
That's what confused me. Yeah, so this is the 4th one. And last week I told you I had an A and a B, and I was like, I don't know which one. And
I picked B.
You picked B.
So this week it's going to be A.
So it's just going to be whatever I didn't say. Because I actually have a list going now, so I don't forget like the really good ones.
I did that last season.
I
had a whole list of all the video games I've played because it wasn't a long list.
I just kind of go off the like kind of fly by night as far as like, oh, we're here, I'll figure it out. But I want to make sure I don't forget some. This one is one that is called The Weatherman. All one word. Weatherman is one word.
You've talked to me about this one.
Yeah, I think you'd like it, but I got into it because it was a writer that did another series that I might recommend later if I have time, and so I don't want to say what that was yet. I'll say it was he wrote Shirtless Bear Fighter, which is just kind of like it's just kind of like a goofy, like over the top, just trying to be funny and weird. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a shirtless guy who fights bears. And
right up your alley.
Yeah, it's great. Like it's just like the bears are like the bad guys and trying to take over. It's just anyway. This is not like that. But I pulled it up on here because I couldn't remember what year it was set in. But it's set in 2770, so way in the future.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's basically this guy is a weatherman. The weather. They live on Mars. Everyone lives on Mars. It's a terraformed planet, so like they've like made infrastructure and like ways to live on Mars. He's the weatherman, and I forgot that there's something with the weather that I haven't read this in a while that I don't remember exactly what goes into that. But he all of a sudden is like getting like hunted by like big name like black market assassins and stuff, and he doesn't know why. But in the premise of the book, there's this like big memorial because in whatever year there was a terrorist attack that killed the entire population of Earth 7 years before this. And so they had this big like remembrance on Mars for all the people that they lost on Earth who were loved ones and things like that. Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out somehow his memory's been wiped clean, but he's the one that did it, and he doesn't know how, and he doesn't know why. And he doesn't know why people are after him.
That's crazy.
And people some are trying to kidnap him to like get his plans of like what happened and why. And he's not a bad guy. He doesn't even have the name that he goes by in this is not the name of what he was beforehand when he did this terrorist act. And so it's just kind of a wild ride. It's really cool, but definitely like hard sci-fi. But yeah, I that's kind of up your alley, so I think you would like this.
Well, you did a recap so far, so I'll do a recap of mine.
That's fine.
Just for
I had someone that specifically ask me like, "Hey, all the ones you recommended sound cool," and I've had someone say like they bought some of them.
Well, then no, never mind. Nobody wants to know what mine are. No, just for consistency. My first recommendation was Persuasion by Jane Austen, a classic novel, recently turned into a Netflix movie, starring Dakota Johnson. So big name there. My next one was the Red Queen series, set way in the future. Humanity is divided in half. One half is just normal humans. The other half have like developed like superpowers and they fight each other, and it's great. My next one was a web comic on the platform Webtoon called Purple Hyacinth. I think set like way in the past. A female detective demoted to street cop teams up with an assassin to solve like this big conspiracy of like the leader that the assassin works for. He doesn't even know who it is, and they're trying to take him down. This week I planned on doing another novel, but 2, maybe 3 days ago, I was on Webtoon and webcomics. I found a new webcomic that has absolutely blown my mind. It's set way in the future. It's very sci-fi.
It's Star Wars.
It's not Star Wars.
That's in the past.
Just for like some just to lay the grounds to explain what it is. Way in the future, androids are becoming more human-like. They're given human-like qualities, and created basically to make like love bots for people that want like the perfect companion. So like is
that why you bought Android Dream of Electric Sleep today?
No.
You did buy that today.
I did. I have a whole list of like really good sci-fi books I've been wanting to read, and that's one of the ones I picked up. But no, this one, it's like people can put all the qualities of like a partner that they want, and it's all put into this one
huge balls.
Yeah. It's put into this one perfect Android person for you to purchase, and they are created solely to like serve you, love you, and devote themselves to you. And so this woman is like really high up in the company that makes them, and she's called like a tester. So when they make like new beta forms of the androids,
this is like erotica, it sounds like.
No, it's not.
But that's what it sounds like.
It's not at all. She had like they have a new beta one that's supposed to be even more human-like, and they like lifted some of the restrictions off of it. So like they're not supposed to be allowed to hurt people. It's like in their DNA.
Classic. We just watched 2 movies about this.
I know. So
Ron's Gone Wrong and the Mitchells versus
I
the
know.
Machines.
So they told her that they pulled some of the restrictions off of this new beta form, and so she's supposed to interact with it, talk to it, take it out in public and see how it responds, and see if there's anything that needs to be changed or tweaked before they put it in mass production. And when I tell you, it is freaking wild. So there's 2 seasons is what they call it. And so it's got like, I don't know, maybe like 35 chapters in a season. And so I just finished the first full season, and it takes so many twists and turns that I would have never expected. It's not erotica, and it's not really a love romance, whatever. Like there is some, but every at the end of every single chapter, I think I know what's going to happen in the next one, and something way left field happens, and I'm like, I can't possibly guess what's happening.
I mean, that's how Paper Girls is, as far as like you get to, and you're like, what? Like, how did you get to this?
Yeah. And that's how it's been. It has been freaking crazy. There's murder, and there's like corrupt corporations, and the tester, she's trying to figure out what's going on, and then there's certain parts where you're like, is this really happening? Is this all a hallucination? Is she losing it? Am I losing it as a reader? It's crazy. Anyway, so get on Webtoon.
Yeah, I don't think you said the name yet.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Get the Webtoon app and subscribe to Purple Hyacinth, which is my recommendation from last week. This week, it's called It Was All You. That's the name. And it's really good. I haven't started really the second season, so I don't really know what direction it's going to take. But I will tell you, you're not gonna know where it's going, and it's crazy. It's crazy, and I love it. It's the perfect sci-fi for me.
I've got stuff you need to read. I know what you like, and I think you would like it. It's called Shirtless Bear Fighter, and it's exactly what you expect.
That's everything I've ever wanted in a story. Is a shirtless bear fighter.
Volume 2, it came out in 2017, and Volume 2 is starting up in August. It's been a 5-year gap between Volumes 1 and Volume 2. And so I'm pretty excited about it.
Does the 5-year gap appear in the story?
I have no idea. I don't know. Because the guy who wrote it's been working on The Weatherman and a bunch of other stuff. Like, they've been doing other, jobs. And so he's back to Shirtless Bear Fighter, which is not my recommendation, but might as well be. It's a good one,
You're only
too.
allowed to recommend one.
I'm not officially recommending Shirtless Bear Fighter because I think I have enough that I don't need that for this season. If the season gets stretched out longer than I expect, then that might make an appearance down the road, but we'll see.
But for now, it's
The Weatherman. Yeah, and also, one other thing is, if you Google the Weatherman comic like soundtrack, you can find a SoundCloud link, or you can just it's the first thing, or you can just type in SoundCloud. The creators of the Weatherman teamed up with a bunch of synthwave artists, and they got them to make 6 original songs to like be the soundtrack of the like setting of the story.
That's really cool.
It is cool, and like honestly, like I like it. Like I used to listen to it while I was working because it's just instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if you know much like synthwave stuff, but it's
I know enough.
It's that's an ad. I didn't know.
America.
It's like a Chevy truck ad. I didn't know that SoundCloud had ads, if I'm being totally honest.
Well, if they didn't, they do now.
Maybe it's because I'm not logged in. I mean, I don't even know if I have an account on SoundCloud, if I'm being honest. And they haven't done any more songs since this, but they have 6 original songs, and they do all kind of like, they're named after things in the comic, which is kind of cool.
So they all go in together.
Yeah, and it's like
After listening to you describe the premise of the story, this sounds like it fits.
It does. Like it's 6 original songs. I like synthwave.
I can groove to this.
Yeah, I think it's cool. So that's just a bonus.
It's like what you're playing now is like suspenseful.
Yeah,
like it makes me want to, like, I feel like there's something like coming after me.
There is at all times.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out. But I didn't say it at the top of the show because I always forget now that it's just me and you. Patreon.com/SmashingHeads podcast. Well, I guess I briefly mentioned it because we said we're recording with Jake and Amanda tomorrow. But then at Smashing Heads on Twitter, that's where we posted the poll at. So if you want to vote and stuff like that, do it there. And then at Smashing Heads at Smashing Heads podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And there's just a lot going on. It's moving sucks, selling your house sucks, packing up sucks, everything. The process of moving is not fun, but we're both very excited to get it going.
You don't sound very excited. I'm excited.
I'm excited. It's just there's a lot still that has to be done. I mean, I'd say we're like 80% packed.
Yeah.
And then
we can't fully pack because
we gotta live.
We're still here for a couple weeks, and I still have to have stuff to wear to work.
And I still gotta have like my computer set up and stuff. Yeah, like I got some exciting things. We have a lot of exciting things going personally for both of us that we may have some news about soonish, but we're getting, everything's winding down. It's happening, and so we'll be with you guys as much as possible throughout the move. Obviously, the week that we move, we may have to move some recording stuff around because it's a 3-day drive with dogs and all of our possessions, and so we'll just have to play that one by ear. But that's at least 3 or so weeks away at minimum, I'd say.
Yeah.
Ideally, it's the first week of September is what we're looking at. Yeah. So we'll be around until then. Again, follow us on everything at Smashing Heads, and yeah, I just told you so. Patreon.com/SmashingHeads podcast.
Stay cute.